Byrne. I'm here today to talk to you about the Global Conservation Consortia, Coordinating Collections for Exceptional Species. To give you a bit of background, the Global Strategy for Plant Conservation is a policy framework adopted by the Convention on Biological Diversity. Within this framework, there are 16 global conservation targets for plants. The Conservation Consortia are aiming to achieve Target 7, 75% of threatened plant species to be conserved in situ, and Target 8, 75% of threatened plant species to be in ex situ conservation. Now, it's understandable that we'd want to conserve species in their native wild habitat, but why do we want to conserve them ex situ? Well, through ex situ living collections, you can conduct research, breeding, propagate seed for restoration, and create education and outreach materials for your collections. Also, they're an insurance policy against extinction. Looking at this image on the right, you see that it is a seed bank. Seed banks are a great option for conserving threatened plant germplasm for the long term. However, some plant species are exceptional, meaning they can't survive the low humidity and low temperature conditions of a seed bank. Exceptional species produce seeds that cannot be seed banked because they're no or low sporadic seed production, freezing intolerant or short-lived, or recalcitrant. Some examples of exceptional tree genera are oaks, magnolias, and cycads. Since they cannot be seed banked, there need to be alternative solutions. Cryopreservation is an important alternative solution, but living collections are incredibly important for conservation of exceptional tree species. Given that background information, through BGCI and Garden Partners, we have launched these 4 conservation consortia focusing on exceptional tree genera: oak, magnolia, rhododendron, and acer. But today I'm going to be focusing on the Global Conservation Consortium for oak. The Global Conservation Consortia aim to meet 8 goals, but I will be briefly highlighting these 3 goals throughout my talk. Establish and foster a network of experts, establish and manage coordinated ex situ collections of high conservation value, and build capacity to empower and mobilize in-country partners and diversity centers. This is a visual image of the consortia governance structure. The consortia will be broken up into different regions. So for example, for the GCCO US region, you can imagine that being region 1 here. The consortium lead and consortium steering committee members make up the leadership team, and the species champions and safe sites will make up and manage the meta collection, which is defined here. All of the individuals of a priority threatened species in the ex situ collections of the consortium members, which are tracked in a coordinated accessions level database managed by the species champions for that species. Essentially, it'll be coordinated living collections. Specifically for the Global Conservation Consortium for Oak, it'll be led by the Morgan Arboretum, and it's generously supported by the U.S. Forest Service and Foundation Franklinia. This is a map of the global distribution of Quercus species. There are roughly 425 species. The different colors represent the number of native oak species, and there are several global oak diversity hotspots: Southeast Asia and China with roughly 120 native oak species, the US, and then Mexico, and these are the regions that the GCCO will be focusing on and potentially expanding into other regions. The US region has a great head start because of these wonderful resources like the Red List of US Oaks and the Conservation Gap Analysis of Native US Oaks. Thus, the US region has a clear roadmap for future research, collecting, and conservation efforts. Within the Conservation Gap Analysis, they created a conservation matrix for 28 species of conservation concern, and this is what will be guiding the GCCO efforts within the US region. And we think the US region can really focus, the GCCO specifically can focus on wild collecting and ex situ curation, coordinating conservation collections. Also in the gap analysis is this graph showing the native US oak species on the x-axis and the number of plants in ex situ collections on the y-axis. And you can see there's a wide range of the number of plants in ex situ collections. Specifically, I want to point out these red stars, which are the species of conservation concern. And you can see that the more threatened you are, the more underrepresented you are in living collections. Thus, the GCCO's idea of the meta collection, coordinating collections of high conservation value, can help fill in the gap shown here. And to really reiterate that point of coordinating collecting efforts and how important it is, looking at this graph showing ex situ accession data of Quercus species from 2017 to 2019, you can see that there was a huge increase in the number of plants in ex situ collections between those 2 years through coordinated collecting efforts for these 6 species of conservation concern. And these efforts were generously supported by the APGA US Forest Tree Gene Conservation Partnership. And this really just drives home the point of the GCCO's mandate in coordinating these collecting efforts and conservation collections. So to keep up the momentum and the great head start we have in the US region and to expand to the other regions, please consider joining the GCCO. So if you have questions or more information about the GCCO or the other conservation consortia, please let me know. Thank you.